what do I do, or what are some tips that you can give when I found somebody and I know that they're not a fit? Either way, like either I'm not a fit for them or they're not a fit for me. Do you have any tips on how do you transition out of that? So how do you kind of go, I don't really want to work with you without going, I don't really want to work with you.
Yes.
Because I think that sometimes we get stuck on that. And then so sometimes people just go, well, I'll just take everybody. Because I don't
Yes.
want to say no. Because how do I do that? I don't want to, it's like you said, that goes to the good girl that sort of says, I don't want to say no to somebody because I don't want to
Yes.
turn them down.
That's right. And you know that I know, I speak for myself when I say, I know what it feels like to feel rejected. And so I don't want to make someone else feel rejected. Right. And we work really hard to be nice people. So, yes, that is a huge issue. So, I have a process called painless selling to ideal buyers that I teach. And when I mentioned a little bit ago about those strategic questions, so that you can evaluate, that process makes it easier if and when you decide to say no. The One of the things that you can do as you are talking with a potential buyer is, first of all, pay attention when they say something that catches your attention. So, for example, if you're a business advisor and someone, and I do ask this question, so what business advisors, you don't have to tell me who they are, but how many have you worked with in the past? And what has your experience been? And if the answer is, I've worked with 5 other business advisors in the last 6 years, it's a red flag. Because especially if they then say, and none of them were a good fit, and I just couldn't, like, they didn't really understand what I was saying, and I think I reacted too quickly, and I just chose the person who was in front of me instead of the right advisor for me. And I do hear that. If it happens once or twice, I don't consider that a red flag. If it happens many times in a short time frame, I do think of that as a red flag because it calls 2 things into question for me. One is their decision-making skills. How did they choose that person? Why did they choose that person? And why did they end the engagement? So I don't ask those questions, but I'm thinking them. And the second is, I wonder if there is some problem underneath. Perhaps the person I'm talking to is not a good communicator, and the advisor that was helping them didn't find a way to help them. So those 2 things get called into question for me, and I start wondering about the red flags. But as women, what we typically do is we either ignore the red flags and think, oh, I'm just being silly, or, which again is about not trusting your intuition, or we rationalize it and we say, well, they just didn't find the right person yet. I'm the right person.
Yeah, I can help. I'll be the one.
I'll be the one. Exactly. So that's a dynamic that I see frequently.